Alrighty then. Welcome. God, I always want to do the welcome to Thunderdome when I do that. It's just in my blood. The 80s funneling through my blood. Can't be stopped. I don't know why. Hi, everybody. So welcome to a Friday stream with me. The stream we'll be looking at. I want to focus on her head for this stream and kind of show you guys a bunch of different techniques we can go about making like what I'm looking to do right now, which you can see right here, right? So I want to be able to, hold on one sec. Let this pop in. Okay, sorry. I want to be able to make a mouth. So this is from one of my favorite 80s movies, in all honesty. Yes, Fright Night. It's awesome. And then the stuff that Steve Johnson did and that crew did on that movie was really groundbreaking and huge, honestly. So I would encourage you, if you've never, ever seen this movie, and I'm talking about the 80s version one, I'd take some time and go see it. It's a fun movie. It's not like it's, oh, this is an amazing movie. It's not like Oscar, kind of type stuff, but it's a fun movie, and the effects, in my opinion, are Oscar worthy. The effects that they did in the 80s was just great. So we're trying to do like a banshee woman. So I pulled these up because it shows a great example of the makeup transitioning that they had to do in this film. Obviously, in the digital world, we don't have to do this now, right? They would do this now all digitally, right? How's it going from Peru? Okay. So like this is when she's starting to become the vampire. And then you can see she's becoming even deeper and then deeper. And then this is what we're going for. Our ultimate is here. So the reason why I also wanted to pull these transitional images up, I kind of work that way in ZBrush as well. Okay, so I'm actually trying to just slowly get to this point of making her look like the end result down here in the bottom right. Okay, so we're going to go through this. I'm going to go through the things that I will do also to make her mouth open, a technique that I would use, especially for something like this. And then we're going to go through some hair techniques, how I'd start doing maybe her hair. And you can even see in the transitions, her hair was changing, right? She was becoming more seductive as she became more vampire-esque. What? Okay, so right now I'm using ZBrush for my referencing. Yusef. I prefer having my images right here inside of ZBrush. It's just me, I have them right here and I can move my images around really quick. Okay. So I'm using Spotlight, what I normally would use. Obviously there's a lot of references images out there. Pure Ref is very popular. I see someone's already put it in there. It's a very popular one. Okay. So this is a good handy, and then you can save these out. So in the texture palette, we can hit save and load spotlights. And then you can save these out and load them at any time. So you can see I just loaded in. Here's like, this is one from the newer movie. In fact, I'm doing this on purpose. There is a new version of ZBrush that just got launched yesterday. It's a patch update. So we are now on version 2021.6.3. Okay. So we've took care of some things that have popped up from you all coming to us. And we've added a couple little extra things that I think are very nice to have, and I want to touch on those really quick. There is a breakdown of all the things that we did. In fact, you know what? Here, let me get the breakdown for you guys really quick, and I'll put that in the chat for you so you can see all the things, because it was quite a bit, and we've added a couple new little features as well, and I'm going to cover them in this stream actually. So you're in the right spot. That's all I'm saying, right? So let's so to your question, there is the link. So go to that link and you'll see an entire text breakdown of all the patches for 2021 in essence, what's been added. But the top part is the most recent. Okay, so, and it's quite a bit. We've got a new section, updated section, change section, a fixed section. And I'm going to cover all the new stuff actually in this stream, like I said. So one of the things that is new, and this has kind of been a thing for me, since I use Spotlight a lot for referencing, the old version is, oh, you know what, in an example, I've got another image here. This is from the newer Fright Night that they redid, I think in 2000, like 10 years ago. this is now another image I want to add into this scene. So now when you guys are going to add images in the spotlight, if I click my add spotlight button, images now will just plop to the center of your document. Previous versions of ZBrush, all the images would have recalculated and reorganized themselves into one little neat little area. They would have, in essence, it would have done tiled selected. So we've done away with that because someone like, say for me, and this is a prime example, I've already set up images on the left and right side of what I want, and I don't want to reset all those up again, right? So now that I've added this image, okay, it plops it now in the middle, and then I can position this wherever I want. And I actually masked out inside of ZBrush the image, and what I did was I switched to paint, this paintbrush right here in my dial, and I switched to the black color, and then I got rid of, in essence, the part of the image that I don't really care about. So pure black inside of ZBrush is transparent, okay? So because I'm painting in pure black right now, this is kind of how I can crop out an image really fast. That way I don't need all the image. If I want to have this one as more of a referencing, just see what they did in the more recent film, and then I click and that's turned off. And now I can hit the V key to switch back to my white color and then just reposition this. And I guess I'll put it down here. I got to look at what you guys are seeing and not just only what I'm seeing. So something like that, let's say. And then hit the Z key to come out of that. Okay? So this is how you can spread images around. That's how you would add an image again in the spotlight. You just load them and you click your little add button, or you come in through Lightbox, right? So a popular thing would be is if you're working on a project and you got a lot of images, it might be worth for you to make a folder. And let's say for this one I have a vampire folder, and these are all folders right here. So I might even in the texture menu part make a folder. It's called like vampire or banshee, and all my images are in there. And when these images load, I can actually load in images into Spotlight through this as well. So this is also very easy. When I click on this, you can see it's now highlighted with the white border, and it's got a big white radial gradient behind it. I double click the first time, loads it actually into ZBrush, and then a double click plops it into Spotlight. And because I have Spotlight already active, you can see what it does, just plops it in there. So it's either one of those is the way to put we don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. So there you go. And then the Z key, it takes you from the two modes. In this case, right, I'm going from the mode of Spotlight, Edit, right, okay, this is Edit Spotlight mode with the big dial. And then if I hit the Z key, now it's just Spotlight, in essence, projection mode. Okay? So I want to start a character from scratch with this. I want to make my own Banshee vampire face like this. So I'm going to start from scratch so you guys can see the whole process. All right? And I'm going to start with something that you guys all have inside of ZBrush. That way, if you want to go back and rewatch this or you want to try it yourself, you can go through these steps with me. And we'll go on a journey. Here, let me hold your hand. Come on a journey. Come with me. Okay, so in Lightbox, okay, there is Tools, okay, and then there's Projects. So in the Projects, there's this female demo head. I'm starting with this just because it's already got clean topology. It really doesn't matter. I'm probably going to mess up the topology anyways. But there's going to be things maybe that I want to do here, especially since we need to make her mouth become more unhuman. Like none of our mouths can open this big. It's not happening, right? None of them are opening this big, okay? So we're going to make some things that are just not humanoid, right? Well, yeah, we'll go all the way transparent. Okay? So we're going to need to adjust her face and do some things with her face for sure. Okay, so there you go. There's one first thing that was added or up. In essence, that's more of an update to Spotlight that was added. And as we go through here, guys, I will cover some other things. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing that's going to become important for me, since I'm going to turn on my polyframe. I got topology. It looks like this. I need to get the ability, and particularly with this model, to be able to open her mouth. Okay, and I want to try and make that as easy as possible for me to open her mouth. Right, so I'm going to start using Polygroups to do that. Right, and you can see this particular model when you guys load it. All right, has no polygrouping on her face. It's just one polygroup. All right. And so what I want to do is make another polygroup for her. Let's first look and see. She's got no subdivision levels. It's not really going to matter actually for what I'm about to do, but first let's just highlight this. No subdivision levels. There's no layers or anything like that, okay? So I'm going to come and switch to my ZModeler brush, and you guys can see in your bottom left now, I found an app that I was looking for that shows you guys every key I'm pressing and every shortcut I'm pressing, okay? Okay, so that way you guys have it. Again, I'm hitting B to hold up the brush, Z for ZModeler, and then the M is that shortcut. So you guys can, if you want to know any shortcuts that I'm doing, there you go now. Over here, it'll pop up every time I do something now with my mouse and my keyboard. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just zoom in right here in the corner of the mouth, okay? And I can clearly see, this is a model from Steve Jubinville. So thank you, Mr. Steve Jubinville, that gave this to us years ago to put inside a ZBrush. I'm looking at this row of polygons right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over one of those. I'm going to hold the space bar, and I'm going to, by default, you're going to have this in ZModeler. This is what you're going to have. I'm going to switch to polygroup, and I'm going to say polyloop. Okay, I want to make a new polygroup, in essence, is what I want to do here. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is just this little, here, I'm going to turn on my, okay, so you see the magnifier. You see that orange line right now? So the face that I'm highlighting, it's got a red outline, right? And then there's a red line dead center. That's just showing you the normal of the face where it's dead center. And that orange line is important. That orange line is controlling what direction do I want this to happen now, this action to happen. In essence, what polyloop direction, okay? And then all you're doing is moving your hand, and it'll change directions. So you can see now that orange line's facing up. So here's what happens. If I click now, you'll see that I made a new polygroup going around her mouth. Okay, which this is going to be hugely beneficial for me. Okay, and if we undo that and now we go back in and I do the orange line the other way, it's now making it go the other direction. Okay. What's so much sensitive? Is it you guys are just making sure it's, is it something me? Is it my audio? Is it my video? Am I being sensitive? So this is what you have here, okay? And so what I'm going to do, knowing this model, he made some good topology. So you can see the loops going around and going around the head in essence. Okay? So here, I'll turn up my audio just a little bit more then. I just don't want it to peak on you guys too much as usual. Okay, so, oh, you're talking about this? No, this is about your hand turning. So you see my cursor's over here more. So if I just start moving, and then now it's closer to this edge. So that's when it flips to this. As my cursor gets closer, see? That's it. So I can do this really slow. Right? It's just got to be general. Once the cursor, right? Once this icon, in essence, your brush starts to get closer, see, to that edge, that's when it pops. Okay? So now that we have this polygroup, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show only the polygroup that you see now. So the green one's hidden. Okay? I know that the way he set this up, this got a mouth sac inside. So there's an opening. So when she opens her mouth like this, right, there's an actual mouth sac in there. Right? So here, if we hide a little bit more, see, this is the mouth sac that's happening in there. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Polygroups. Okay? And I'm going to hit Auto Group. And you'll see what'll happen here is now we get, if we bring everything back, okay, we've got now a bottom polygroup. That's in essence going to become the bottom jaw for me here. And then if I flip this, you can see we've got the rest here. Okay? And now we've got a green, we've got a blue, and we've got a purple. Okay? So one thing that we've updated for this as well, this is a little update. When you guys were previously making polygroups, sometimes you would get polygroups relatively close in color. Okay? And so when I do something like this, or I'm even masking creaking a polygroup, we re-looked at this code for you guys as well. So it's going to do a better job of making sure it doesn't pick a color that's similar to the existing one. So this should be improved as well for you guys. So this is something that's new, updated for version 2021.6.3 that just came out yesterday. Okay, so it's another new addition for you guys. Okay, so I want this. Okay, so there is no mouth sack brush. You would just create it. It wouldn't be difficult. In fact, we'll play with this. Okay, and I'll show you kind of how we could go about messing with the mouth sack as well. Okay, so now I got this polygroup. Okay, and now I just want to probably start looking at this in just different. So we need the jaw, right? So I'm gonna start doing this now. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna now switch to my select lasso. Okay, and now I'm gonna start lassoing out and say, okay, I would probably say her mouth is gonna get really big. So let me play with this a little bit. Maybe through here, we'll start hiding these as well. Okay, so now that I have those, okay, and then I can auto group that now. And because auto group is working because this whole row of topology I've hidden, right? These two aren't technically connected right now. Okay. And then that's what you can have. Is there any way you can do fill selection once you select a loop? Are you talking about what I just did? Are you talking about like this? Yeah, you would just Control W, automatically will create a polygroup. See, every time I hit Control W, it just creates new polygroups. So I'm just quickly using polygrouping to my benefit. Okay, I'm gonna say now, I'm gonna hold down Control Shift, and because I have the lasso, I can select poly loops. Okay. And I'm going to say, let's hide those. And let's go ahead and auto group that now. So what I'm trying to do is get down to the part where I just have only this, the jaw part. And I'm just using the existing topology. Okay. And then I'm using other things. So let's take and look at this. Let's maybe have, I'm just debating if I want to take some of the mouth sack. Let's solo this out. All right. And let's go ahead and let's just turn on display double property so we can see everything. So you can really see the mouth sack now, right? Let's go ahead, let's do it. Let's take some of the mouth sack with it. So I'm going to do that. So this bottom part of the mouth sack, as you can see, is no longer, they're not connected. They're not sharing vertex right now at any point. So when I click that auto group, right, it's creating two new polygroups in it. So this is keeping that blue, and then this one's now got a new one. So now I've got this, right, and this down here are now new polygroups, right? And I'm going to make now Control W, just make this a whole new polygroup. So now in essence, I've got this and I've got this. So we'll make these two new polygroups. So now I've got the top part's purple, okay, and the bottom part is green, right? Because when we're going to go and open this mouth, I want some movement in here, and we're going to use masking and everything else to really open this mouth and try and get some things. And I'm going to go, right into this, but I'm going to slowly work my way into this pose, and I'm trying to set myself up for this is what I'm doing, right? So what's also really, this is a big one, everybody. This one's pretty, here's a new feature. Okay, so this is a new feature, what I'm about to show you. So this is definitely a combination of Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces, and my favorite, look up here, right? So now, something new, which I think this is going to be huge because I've already used it a ton. A lot, okay, is this. You guys are now going to have the ability, and I'm sure you've ran into this multiple times. You're like, okay, I want to select out in this case. Okay, I just want to select out maybe a certain polygroup, right? Or maybe I want multiple polygroups. Okay, so maybe let's say I want the blue, the pink, and the purple. Okay, so then I do this. I do a little selection like this, right? And I'm getting just these polygroups now. What I'm able to do now is grow out to all the polygroups that are currently visible, and that's it. Okay, so you can see the jaw didn't become visible, but the whole purple, the whole pink, the whole blue, and the whole orange. So here, let's do this even at a smaller. Let's go like maybe this much. So you can see there's a little bit of the pink, a little bit of the blue, and the purple. And now what I can do is grow them out. And now you can see the green's not grown, and neither is that. This is the same thing as, you're right, you guys, you can grow out like this. You can shrink. So we've added a new grow ability. And in fact, here, let me show you it on another model as well. I'll do it this guy because you guys also get this shipped with you. So you can see there are 6 polygroups on this. So what's great now is, especially for this, you can see that the leg has there's 2 legs, right? And 2 arms, obviously. But each one of them have a different polygroup. And I might want to maintain that. I might not want both arms to have the same polygroup. I might not want both legs to have the same polygroup. I might want to maintain this because I'm maybe going to do different things to each arm. I don't know. Our workflows are all over the place. Sometimes are different. So what's great is I can do something like this, right? Where I've selected a portion of each leg, and now I can grow out both legs. And it's stopping at the polygroup borders. So it's looking for all the polygons with the same polygroup and stopping. So this is a big one. I'm telling this one I'm going to use a ton because I use all this stuff a lot. This growing and shrinking. And you guys can see my shortcuts. Look at my bottom screen. You guys can see all the shortcuts, right? You can see what I'm pressing right now. Okay. So this has been added now to your visibility palette. Okay. So there's a new visibility and it's called Grow to Polygroups. And you can see I'm scrolling over it and you can see my shortcut is Control-Shift-Q, but you guys can assign whatever you want to that. It's your world. I'm just a part of it. Okay? So what you're doing is doing Control and Shift. And by the way, again, for this thing that I've added here on the bottom, you'll notice when I'm only holding Control shows, holding Alt. But when I hold both, you can see the Control and Shift are showing right here because I'm holding them down. And then now I just tap on the Q. And you can see I'm holding down Control Shift and tapped on the Q, and that grew everything. Okay? So Control Shift X is going to grow one edge loop at a time. And then Control Shift S as in shrink. Okay? Oh, that's very nice of you, Calconics. That's very nice of you. All right? So X grows. Tapping S shrinks. Tapping the A is grow all, so it would grow the entire shell in this case, and the entire shell is everything that's made up of him. So his body is all connected. Every vertex is connected, and there's not an opening, right? Compared to if we threw something on this like an insert mesh brush, just so you guys have a complete understanding of this. Okay, if I did stuff like this now, where I'm adding like just stuff. Okay, each one of those have the shell. So if I do this and do a Control Shift A, you can see it's only his body that you're getting, nothing else. Okay, so now you guys have the ability, like even doing something like this, Q, see that both of them grew, not just the one, they both. So even though I had nothing selected of the other capsule, because that other capsule had the same polygroup, when I hit Control Shift Q, it grew both. This is what you could not do this before. Oh, let me move this up because my face is covering. This new button's giving me all this power now. It's giving me the power of what I just did right there. This is going to be huge. Okay? So there you go. So I'm just going to use these to my benefit, right? Especially like this. Oh, like this. I want to get rid of all these polygroups. Now I could do something like this and then flip it and then make a new polygroup. And now we're back to this. Right? So this is going to be very, 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 very useful. Okay? So now that I got my polygrouping what I want, let's unsolo this. You know, because I'm now going to really start to try and make this look like the reference images that we got here. Let me move this one I got to remove this one up just a little bit. Just because this is going to be my main reference image, that one right there. So I'm going to move it up so that my little reminders aren't blocking. Is it possible to use auto groups with symmetry? Can you expand upon that? Yeah. So if you're talking about they have the same polygroup on either side, yeah, that's always been possible. Like that's never changed, right? That's the way it operates now, right? If these were the same polygroups, then you would get both. But you see, they connect at some point. So it would just be one polygroup. I'm not sure if I'm answering what you're asking. So if you can add more to what you're trying to say, then maybe I can expand upon it. All right, so we're making a banshee. Let's go ahead and I want to get into this. I want to get the feeling of it. No, this is not pure ref. No, this is ZBrush that's being used in here. Mystery Finnery. Let's divide this up a little bit. Let's go ahead and switch to my paintbrush. And I just want to get in the feel of her right out of the gate, man. I want to start feeling like I'm making this. I'm going to fill this with some white. And I'm going to go, I think, with some red. So I'm going to grab a red in here. And let's switch to a drag rectangle. I'm going to come out of perspective. Okay, and let's just only look at the eyes right now at this point. Let's go up one more level, I guess. And we'll smooth that up. Give that a little smooth, the little triangles in there. Okay, and I'm going to now, let's do some little painting. So let's grab this. We're going to paint this up. Let me just click and drag. Put a little bit of red that's going on in there. Just start making her feel a little more intimidating. Yes. Yes, let's do a little bit of red there. And now let's grab this alpha. Let's throw a little bit of a black in there. Pull from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's repeat that a few times. I'm going to do that and just repeat it. So I'm going to hit the 1 key just so it's repeated a few times. Okay, and let's now select some white again. And let's just go back to just straight up painting. And let's put a little white in there so it's just give it a little bit of feeling in there. And now let's throw some yellow. Let's throw some yellow in this. Maybe some yellow right in there. And she's dark soul. She's a dark soul. I'm just quickly giving her some kind of, banshee vampire eye, just so I have something there. And if I want to go a step further than this, you might even go put a different material on it. It'll pop it a little bit more. So right now we got Madcap Gray. I'm going to put toy plastic's probably the most popular for eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And this will already have like kind of a little shine to it. So I'm going to select just the M for material up here at the top. So I'm at the top of my UI up here, right here. And then I'm going to go into my color and I'm going to say fill object. And now that's going to fill those eyeballs with the toy plastic. And let's go back now to Madcap Gray. And then now the eyes see are they're popping, right? I'm just trying to get my feel right out the gate in here a little bit. It's just something very simple in here just to give her that. Because we're going to start doing all this kind of makeup painting and everything too on here. Although, obviously we're making this for 3D printing. We're going to be handing this off and Scott's going to be doing all the painting. I'm just trying to give myself a feel inside of ZBrush. Okay, so your question was, when you have two pieces of the same mesh separate and use auto groups, can it recognize symmetry? No. No, to do that, you would just do Control W. It's always going to do two different polygroups. The point of auto groups is looking for geometrical shells. In essence, if you are doing this, going back to this, right? If I look at just like these arms, okay, let's just solo this out. These arms aren't connected in any shape, way, or form right now. So visually, okay, there is no connection happening here. This arm is and there's no vertex points leading to connect the other arm. Okay? Does that make understand? So when you're doing this, okay, if you keep hitting auto groups, it's just going to keep giving two polygroups because they're not connected. So that's the point of this button. This button is looking at continuous topology. And this topology of this arm stops right there, and this topology of this arm, so it can't be the same polygroup. So if you want the same polygroup, it's just Control W. And now they're the same polygroup. That's all you need to do. Okay? And you want to see the floor axis? There's your axis. So you can see the floor. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that answer your question for you? I forget the name. Let me go back here to the chat. Myringen. That should answer your question, hopefully, for you. Okay. Coming back. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Let's start making her mouth a little bit open. Let's start playing with this. So by default, we're all going to start probably doing things like this, where we switch to the move brush and we just start pulling and being ridiculous, right, with this. Why so serious? Now, there's going to be a point here where you start doing this, okay? Is this starts happening. It's almost looking like, if we look from above, like there's an actual ruler in her mouth, right? That's not what this... The mouth needs to open and follow kind of like the flow of her jaw, right? Because I need this to kind of flow backwards like this. Okay, so I'm going to use the move brush to help me a little bit in this process. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right about in here and then just start slowly, and I'm going to go bigger, slowly just start moving it. And you can see, if we look from the top, see there's no ruler coming out of her mouth now. Okay, and you can see it's starting to just stay flowing with where I want this to go. I want it flowing back like that is what I'm looking for. So what I'm doing is doing a little trick that's in the move brush. It's looking pretty funny now, right? So when I'm clicking on this move, I'm then tapping on holding the shift key. So look at my shortcuts, right? And you see it tells you I'm holding the shift key right now. Okay? She's very happy, right? So I can do this in kind of some stages, where I click and now hold the shift key, click and now hold the shift key, click and now hold the shift key, click and now hold, right? Don't hold the shift key first because you'll smooth. So click on the surface and then hold the shift key. Click on the surface and then hold the shift key, right? So I can start getting a little bit more of this mouth movement, which is a little, obviously a little crazy because she's a banshee, okay? But then this is giving me where I need to a little bit go. And then I'm smoothing some stuff out and maybe moving some stuff around. Now I can do a little bit more of this, right? And it's automatically, okay, giving me this. So now I took the time also to mask out the bottom half, right? Because I'm going to want to now maybe start opening this mouth. So you can see I can unmask and mask polygrouping very fast. This is why I want to take the time to set up some polygrouping, because now I want to maybe start opening this mouth, okay, and not have other things be affected as much, right? So now that I have the two polygroups. So when I'm using the gizmo as my little trick to mask things off quickly, okay? So what all I'm doing, again, is I've got gizmo on, ironically 80s, right? And I'm holding control and I'm just tapping on the green. So what's going to happen is my gizmo moves to that vertex point that I just tapped on and aligns along that vertex point. But the secondary thing that it does, which is important to me, it masks off every other polygroup but the one I clicked on. So in my case, I've only got two. But of course, if we did this now on a model like this, right, where there's multiple polygroups, again, if I turn on my gizmo, hold control and tap, you can see every other polygroup now has just become masked. And the only one I clicked on is unmasked. And then this, I can continue this trick down the road. Well, it's not really a trick. This is just more of a ability, I would say. And then what you can do is, oh, I want to add more elements to this. You have the ability, right, to add more elements. So you see, I just unmasked that pill now to go with this arm. And I can say, oh, let's unmask this pill now. Boom. Right? So here, I'll turn off polyframe. So you can see this, this, and this, and see if I move, are all unmasked now. And then I can do this one next. Boom. Right? So you guys see how I'm doing that? So that works really well for me. So what I'm doing here, let me cover this because I'm sure all of you are like, I don't know what you just did there. Okay, so number one, watch my little helper that we've added to this stream. Okay, I'm, again, holding control. I'm tapping on a polygroup. And again, I got to be in a turntable. Okay, and so now I want to add other elements to this. So I want to add maybe other geometrical shell pieces maybe to this. Especially if you're this, I use this a lot for posing hard surface. It comes in very handy. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to come in here, all right, and I want to say I want to add this capsule. to the already existing unmasked portion. So all I have to do is hold down Control, and then I'm going to tap on the capsule, which now the capsules become unmasked. And you see I'm still holding Control, and now I'm going to switch to Shift. And now I'm just going to drag out, and I'm going to drag either to the original unmasked part, which is the arm, or out to the document. And then you'll see now this capsule becomes unmasked. So doing it again, holding Control, clicking on this capsule, then switching to Shift, and then there you go. There you go. Okay? And now you have that. So this is something I use often, right? But in this case, we've only got 2 polygroups. Okay? And as far as your questions about animating the rotation of a single object in ZBrush, so you want in a video of like something staying still and then something else rotating maybe or moving? Yes, it's possible. You got to use layers to do it with timeline. It's possible. We'll see if maybe we can get to something like that at the end. All right, so now that I have this, I can blur my mask a little bit. And then now I'm going to switch to actually this. I'm going to switch to the transpose line. Because I want this to kind of act like a bone structure. Like, so I want to put, okay, where the jaw would have movement, right? And her jaw, your movement's happening way up here, right? When we open our jaw, right, there's muscles here pulling down because muscles only pull. And then our masseter, which is pretty much the strongest muscle in our body because it allows us to give us our bite down, right? So you got muscles in here, right, coming through here, and you got muscles all through here. So they're pulling down, and we need to pull shut. So the muscle through here is pulling our jaw shut. So there's a lot of happening through this area. So that's kind of, that's why I want to use this. And kind of, I'm going to position this kind of where I want that rotational point to be. Okay. And now I'm going to switch to rotate. And now I'm just going to open the mouth. Right. And this is why I made different polygroups. And I'm going to go pretty extreme here. Right. And now we've got this. And you can see by taking the time to do that mouth sack inside and polygrouping that with the jaw, I've got a good mouth sack portion here. But I got an easy way now of opening the mouth. Okay. Because I've given myself the ability with the polygrouping to do this. And then now I would probably switch back to move. Okay. And if you want to switch back to gizmo and probably just readjust this a little bit more to come down like this. So she has like really open mouth, right? I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at kind of this 3/4 view that we have in here. Okay, so I'm getting that movement, a little bit of what I want. Okay, and now I'm going to clear the mask. Okay, and then maybe we'll smooth this out a little bit now. Okay, let's make sure I have symmetry on. So let me undo that. Just smooth this out a little bit, and then now this is a completely different looking character, and we got to start manipulating this a little bit more. So I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna make her front of her jaw really kind of like in the original film. I'm gonna really open that up a little bit more. Okay, just give it a little bit more in there. Yeah, there. Like I want that to be, because I want to put some serious teeth down there. Same thing up here. So see how this is bending like this, and you can see the makeup line a little bit right here. So she's wearing like a prosthetic piece when they did this, right? Because we don't have CG. Now they probably just put a green screen mask right there, like what we're all wearing right now, and just replace it. Is probably would be the easiest thing. So you can see there's a line here in this image right here. And I'm kind of using that as my, this is not a great image, but can you guys see that? See this line right here? Right in there, right? That's pretty much that prosthetic that they put on her in the film in the 80s, right? Because it had to be a prosthetic. So you can kind of see a little bit of that line right there, right? So I'm going to use that as my main driving force of knowing where I want this. So that definitely comes up through here more, right? So let's start playing with, let's start playing with the top of the mouth. Now, this is just the move brush, right, that we have going on here. Now, another brush that I'm going to really start to use a lot, okay, is this brush, okay? I want to start using the Move Topological brush, okay? So, this brush right here, Move Topological. It's going to be very important for me. So brush, M, okay, for move, and then it is, make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, it's right here. It's right here now. Right now we're in the bottom corner over here. Okay, so here let me bring my cursor way up here more. Okay, because my screen, I'm going such a small screen resolution for the stream. I don't know if I can really find a good spot for you guys to see it. There you go. Now, there, that, right here. Okay, that's the brush I'm selecting. And I just know the shortcut. So I'm just using the shortcuts, okay? And the reason why I'm doing this is because now I can go bigger and start making some adjustments. And look how big my brush size is. But you notice it's not really affecting anything here in the bottom, right? So it's really only affecting the parts that has topology making up what I'm trying to move around right now. Okay? And what it's doing is it's looking at, again, one of the things, it's looking at this topology flow and how the topology actually moves through here, right? How does that topology move through there? And so when I click here, it's evaluating the surface and seeing that vertex point and what polygons are connected to that topology flow based upon my brush size and then the feature of topological. Okay? So that's what this is doing. It's clicking on this and finding. So here's the best way I could probably show it to you. So here, let's divide this up a little bit. And because this feature, but people can be turned on for any brush. Let's grab a paintbrush. Okay, let's fill this with some RGB. Color fill object. Okay, so by default, here, let's grab a red. I can just paint and go freely wherever I want with the paint, right? It doesn't matter. And here, let's for giggles, let's make the paint be a little harsh, more harsh. That's good enough. And let's drop my focal shift down a lot, so we can just get a little bit more harsh of a paint through here. Okay, so this, right, by default, we can go wherever we want, right? And paint like this, go crazy, paint like this, whee! Okay, but if we come into our brush palette and we tell the brush to be limited by its topology, okay, so I'm going to go into auto masking, and then at the very bottom of it, there's a button called Topological, right? So then I'm going to click on that, and then now that this is on for this brush, let's pick a different color. Let's pick like this blue, and if I click, I didn't change my brush size, and you can see I can't now paint any further than this. So if I try to do this, see, it doesn't go anywhere else. See, my cursor's way over here and over here and over. It's limiting the brush's ability to how far through the topology it can go, right? And then of course this has got settings. So right now by default the range is 5. If I want really extreme and put a range of 1, and I haven't changed my draw size at all, and let's go with the green, and I click here. Actually, green's probably here. I think maybe the hot pink will be better. Yeah, there, the hot pink's better. See? So you see that little dot? I can't go any further than that now. Same thing down here, right? So even if I'm doing this like craziness, nothing's going to happen. So in essence, that's the only difference between the move and the move topological. The move topological just has that turned on and activated, and you see the range is set to 3. And so now you guys know you can even play with this range if you want, and you want to go the really big brush size and you want the range to be very limited, you can do that. Okay, so that's it. That's all the difference between the two. It's not anything, we don't want hot pink. Anything else real crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna walk back down. Let's go. Okay, I want her mouth obviously in here. It's got to be a little bit down a little bit more. Let's see how far back in the reference. I think I'm probably at a good spot, but we'll go a little bit more. I'm gonna go a little more extreme with her, and then bring that down. It's my world there. Something a little bit more like that. We'll just lightly touch that up a little bit. We start, and see, I'm already naturally starting to get that line that they even put in the makeup. It's starting to just naturally happen for me. Since she's got this ability, I'm gonna also change up her jaw a little bit. I'm gonna really accent that bone structure. So when we're looking at this, we can really see the bones, what's going on here in the bone structure a little bit. Like, obviously, her anatomy is she's humanoid, but not completely humanoid, right? She's got a crazy zygomatic and zygomatic arch happening. So I'm just going to update some of my sculpting here and just support this a little bit more. I'm just landing this idea in a little bit. Walk down on the subdivision level, maybe smooth that out a little bit. And be careful you don't go too crazy, right? And this is where maybe you can turn on Topological for all this stuff too, because I don't want to smooth her eyes too much. Okay? And I would say, looking at this, there needs to be also some more, obviously, her jaw here needs definitely some more structural support. If this is really going to happen, she needs to have a jaw that can support that movement as well. It's looking a little funny right now, but don't worry, people. This is as even just when I'm talking to people and I'm even just trying to teach ZBrush and in general. Guys, don't get hung up so much in this phase, in this stage. I call this stage 1. This is kind of like blocking out, figuring out what I want this to look like. Oh, she's got a really wide, look at what they did in the makeup here they started really making that part of the mandible a lot wider. So I'm just going to switch. And you notice I'm not switching to a lot of brushes right now, right? I've really, in the grand scheme of things, I'm using a move brush and like clay buildup. I'm just using variations of the move brush right now to kind of get where I want to go with this. And now here's a third one. We'll throw in a little bit of a Damien standard because I want her jawbone for me and mine to really stand out. Like, she is ridiculous. And I'm gonna bring it in a little bit. That, smooth that down a little bit. And looking at this, I'm gonna do a little bit like there's a big gap here now, right? So there is no like real bone structure right here. It's just stretched skin. So that should dip a little bit, I would say, anatomy wise. So let's go ahead and let's move back to our move topological, and let's put some dip in that. Let's have it bring in, so that's going to support the bone structure that I've been laying out a little bit more, right? So now it makes a little more sense because then there's this big bone coming through here, right? So that she can do this crazy open mouth, right? Which obviously this should still lead into a zygomatic or your cheekbone, but it's called the zygomatic, and then the zygomatic arch is right here because then the archway is going to have the muscle, right? And then this muscle, right? This muscle's not being fired right now, okay? But the muscles down here are being fired to pull this jaw open, right? And you can kind of see through here. So I'm just landing some things right now just to kind of start bringing this together for her. She looks so funny, right? It looks funny right now, but don't worry, okay? It'll get there. So I'm going to inflate this. Now, I don't like how thin it's gotten here. It's gotten pretty thin. So I'm going to inflate this up a lot. And then this is where something now I might even consider doing a new mesh, because I've really stretched this mesh out, right? It is really stretched out quite a bit, right? So this topology flow isn't really working for me as much as I'd like it to. Okay, something like this. Okay, so this might be a point where like, okay, we've really changed up the anatomy on this, and right now the initial anatomy is just not supporting what I'm doing anymore, really. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's fix that. Okay, I'm going to now remesh this a little bit. Okay, and do I really need to keep my polygroups is what I gotta decide, or not. Okay, so when we go and remesh this, right now I'm looking at, I got some subdivision levels here. So you could just go this route and then just keep in subdivision levels and then do a little bit more inflation here. So it's up to you at this point, I think, as an artist, on what direction you want to go. Just want to put a little bit more. Right? I just don't like all this, because this is really not being supported as much now. Oh, yeah. She is looking like ridiculousness now. Yes. Okay, so again, I want to establish that base mesh. I want her forehead to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of more of a cranium bone structure in here. Down into the orbital bone area. And just start building up this surface a little bit, just to give her a little bit of more bone structure. She's a banshee, man. This person doesn't exist in real life, so I'm taking some liberties. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just taking some quick liberties of what I want this to really start honing in on. Come on, she's a vampire banshee woman. We can go a little overboard if we want to. Oh, looks like that's a good point. It does look a little bit like an anime reaction character for sure. All right, now I'm gonna now switch to going and say let's go ahead and let's remesh this. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete these subdivision levels, go to the Z remesher. So now I either just click the default and give me this, and now I'm gonna get some topology that will support my crazy mouth that I'm doing. Okay. And then that's it, right? And then now I will have topology because her mouth is so stretched now. I want that topology to kind of flow along that stretch a little bit better. So for sculptural purposes, I want that to happen. And again, we're going to be changing this up. Like we're going to lose her lips a little bit, and we're going to be doing a lot of sculptural elements to her. It's not going to stay like this. But now at least I have this, right, flow through here. Okay, you guys see that? You got that nice flow through there. Now, what I don't like what happened with this topology, okay, because now this is great, right? I got this, and I got nice flow topology that's following, in essence, her opening a mouth, okay? What I don't like is what happened up here in these eyes. I'm not a fan of what happened up in here, okay? Yes, bring in the Brewster comment, John. Love it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and let's grab the paintbrush again. And over here in the Z remesh, I'm going to turn on use poly paint. Okay, so let's go about losing some poly paint. And I'm gonna crank my density. Let's go with 3 first. Let's put a 3. And I'm going to say the eyes are really important. I really want, because I'm going to be messing around a lot in here, and her nose. So let's kind of just paint, in essence, like kind of a little bit of a red mask in these areas right here. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, something like that. Okay, and I will also here. Let's change the black color to white, so that I can hold the Alt key and kind of paint out like this. And I found that smoothing this transitional in here works better as well. So I'm going to smooth just only the poly paint, smoothing this out in here. And I need some red in there. Get the red inside her whole eye. Get all that. Here, it'll probably be better just for me to select out this and paint the inside. Oh man, this is the beauty of us having digital, right? Man, imagine doing this in the clay world. That's why, man, the people with the clay and the stuff that they do. I've done clay, and I cannot do anything like I can digitally. So, now when I remesh this, okay, with the defaults, what ZBrush is going to do is that red portion is now being tagged as really important. And I'd want a lot of density topology to go in that area. So because I'm pushing more density in that area, it might do a better job of holding the eyes that I want. Let's see what it does. So let it finish. It's a red heart on the face. I just noticed that right now. She's in love, right? So there, you can see it's maintaining these eyes a little bit better, right? And you see the density change that's happening in there. So I'm going to do one more thing to see if I can help this out, even at just a little bit more. So I'm going to switch to my Z remesher guides down here. Okay, and I'm just going to tell it I want a certain flow maybe of topology to happen through here. Maybe something like that. And then maybe one more. Maybe. I don't know. It's like an experimental. Like sometimes it'll be this. Let's try this one. And sometimes it's better to just do around the eye itself and see. I just want to keep a little bit of her eyelid if I can, as much as possible for where I'm at with her. Right? And I'm trying to just keep clean topology. Of course, guys, we could just Dynamesh this, right? And we're off and running. I'm just trying to show you guys a way to do this too and maintain some clean topology as you're working and not have to always just switch to Dynamesh itself. Because I like to work with subdivision levels myself, so I want to kind of keep that. Still don't like what it's doing in there. So let's try a curve that's just going around the eye. And I'm going to give it one more just as another little push that guide of that a little bit and remesh. Let's see what we get now. And again, the density set at 3. I can go another level. Okay, I can go all the way up to 4 for our density. If I get enough here, then that's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking to get enough for me to kind of, because I'm going to do something with those eyelids I'm going to show you guys here in a second. Because I want to start now landing the scariness of her in her face. We got to start putting some scare. There we go. See, look at that. Now we're talking. So I've got clean topology. I've got good density around the eyes, good density around the nose. Okay? And it's got, and guys, this is a great example of how many times have you guys been working on something where like you're remeshing, right? And you just don't get enough density in a section area. And then you're like at 30 million polygons, you want to go more. Here's a prime example. I'm going to be putting hair on her. Do I really need the top of this to be very dense? No, I don't. I really don't. Okay? So now I can also, and here we'll switch back to the white. Okay? I can also put this density color down lower, like 0.5. And then this will paint with blue instead. Okay? So if I'm painting, see, it'll paint with a blue color. And where there's blue, the remesher actually will put less polygons. So this is a great example, especially for something that I'm doing. I'm doing a very distinct character, and she's going to have this big set of hair on her. So realistically, the only part of me that's really important is the whole front of this face. The rest of it's just going to get covered by crazy hair anyways. So I don't need as much, I don't need all this density back here if I want. So if we undo what I've done, and just for giggles, we're going to do half density now. Okay? And let's just paint this part of the head. Right? Because I'm going to get into hair, hopefully, today. And almost like, this is almost like film, where they make a bald cap. Right? Where it's, well, obviously an actor or an actress, if they're trying to make them look like some creature or something, they'll have their own hair in many cases, right? So they need to make a cap, right? So let's switch and let's make this white. So when I hold the Alt key, I can also erase some paint. So again, I'm holding the Alt key to erase. And obviously, the lower you put that slider, people, the less dense you're going to get. I'm just going with so I'm making like almost like a cap that they would in the real film industry, especially if they want to put a wig on her. Right? And then now I'm going to, again, hold the Shift key. And I have found with this out, the way we're working with this right now, smoothing this out is going to be really a benefit for us all. Okay, I just found the transitioning going from something extreme to this, you're going to like that, right? And then now let's go ahead and remesh this. And you'll see we're going to get the flow that we were getting in the face, but now the top of the head and the back of the head is going to have a little bit smaller polygons, right? Which is beneficial because when I start dividing her up, I would want more density in the face because that's where I'm going to be doing a lot of sculpting, right? That's where it's going to happen, is in the front of the face. I'm not doing sculpting on her head unless I'm doing a character like I'm doing X-Men and I'm doing a Professor Xavier where he's bald. Then that makes sense. But we're not. There. Boom. Done. This is set. I'm good to go now, right? And now if you look, I turn on polygon. See how the polygons are bigger right there? Right? So they're bigger than any other polygon on this now. And then see, these are pretty much what you would normally get. And then you can see how much more dense it's getting here, right? So you're getting more triangulation and more things through here. Perfect. This is exactly what I want. Magnificent. I'm just going to turn on dynamic subdiv. So I'm just looking at this kind of soft right now. And let's start now placing other things for this character, right? We need to now start making her, right? That looks really funny now. Right? Though these teeth are no longer going to work for us. It's not going to work, right? So let's go ahead and let's just, for now, I'm going to separate these teeth out, okay? So this has got some subdivision levels, so we're just going to delete, and let's go ahead and split hidden those. Okay, so this, and I'm going to rename this, and I've said this in past streams, right? It would be good to you guys for, hold on, my caps lock's on. Man, that thing's messing me up now. I keep seeing that typing thing. Teeth. So I just have it, because we're going to be making new teeth. So obviously, those teeth are not going to work. Okay, now we have this. Let's start making some character in here. Let's start bringing her to life a little bit more. So I have it. So let's start doing, okay, her eyes, you know, they're getting pretty wide. Look how wide they're getting. So let's play with that next. So this is why I kind of wanted to maintain the topology, because I just want to just start widening her eyes a little bit, and I want nice flow happening through there. Let's just a little bit, like, I hate to say it, but she's intimidating, a little nutty, right? So just, again, by us having this model at our disposal already in ZBrush, there's a lot of work already done for me, right? So yeah, a little bit more wider, right? And obviously in these cases, her eyeball, I'd probably repaint this and bring that eyeball down, but I'm not worried about that right now. Okay, so we got this. Her nose is, I'm going to make it come up like in there a little bit. Comes up in there. I'm going to go a little bit wider nose. I'm going to give her a little bit more volume in her nose. Something a little bit more like this. And right now it looks funny, but once we put the teeth in, it'll start looking more like a vampire banshee girl. Right now it's just looking like a crazy lady right now. Right? And again, I have dynamic subdiv turned on. Right? So if you guys don't want that on. Okay? So let's turn on back on my Z add. So I can start doing something like that. All right, I'm not going to get crazy. I'm just kind of foundationing, it's not a word, adding some foundation of where I want some structure to happen with her. And we're going to make this kind of have a little bit more cavity. I'll put a little more cavity in there, just a bit more, which then we need a little bit more, add even more cavity. We'll put a little bit more of a stronger brow through here for her. Intimidating, a little intimidating, right? And this will also start giving a little bit of that angry face that she has. So, why are you so angry? It's your boyfriend. Stop doing this to him. For those that have seen the movie, they'll know what the heck I'm talking about, right? Again, I stay very kind of just blocky a little bit, and then I'll smooth back a little bit, give her a little bit more in there. And again, her hair and everything is going to start giving a lot of the female look. And this is what I see. I think a lot of us struggle with is right now. It doesn't look so much like her completely. That's fine, guys. You got to let go of that, and know that down the road you're going to be adding more structure to her to really hammer it home. And I know once we put the hair in, once we put the teeth in, we're going to get more structure that will look more of what we want, right? I'll get more of the vampire look with the teeth. I'll get more of a feminine female when I start adding the hair, right? So I'm just trying to do some basic structural element stuff in here right now. I think I went a little too extreme with the orbital bone change there. I think, yeah, that's better. Something like that's a lot better. And again, the beauty of why I like to work in subdivision levels is I can move up and down subdivision levels and really change the appearance of her a little bit. Okay? Fortnite 1980s. Corb, this is Fright Night, which I think someone go, John, if you're still in here, what was it, 84? I want to say 84. It might have been 85. Okay. Might have been 85, right? And crazy eyes in here, right? If we want to start even making her eyes be a little more crazy, right? So, because the scene's like this, because she's gonna be like, ah, right? And that's why I see the eyes should pop out a little bit. So we're gonna continue working on that for sure. I'm not, okay, getting any structure there. Okay, but for the sake of just you guys taking some stuff away from this stream as well, okay, some other things that I'm gonna start now wanting to do is really making those eyes pop a little bit more. And the eyeballs will pop a little bit more if we add some eyelashes. And we'll get a little bit of more of the angry look in her with some eyebrows. So let's start taking a look at how I would start to do that as well. Besides just doing the general blocking out that I'm doing right now. Just to try and make this pop a little bit more, right? I'm just adding some structure because this is pretty extreme. What she's got going on as far as anatomy is considered, it's pretty extreme. Right? So, one thing that I like to do, so they did do a remake, but that was like 10 years ago. They did a remake. Is because we're going to be printing this out, right? So I need to make, I'm going to just put a structure of some eyelashes in here just to give some elements in here for us. So I want to make some eyelashes right along right in here, all right? So currently, I've got some subdivision levels on her. So I'm just going to drop the down and delete them. I'm just going to get rid of them. Because what I want to do is use a brush. And I want to use something that's a newer brush. And guys, this has become one of my favorite brushes. Okay, and some of you might know where I'm going. Photo, I don't know if Greg worked on the original. I know Steve Johnson, I know for a fact, was the head working on the Fright Night for the original Fright. It was Steve Johnson, because I watched the whole presentation by him talk about the movie. I don't know if Greg was on the team at that time. He might have been. Greg Kenham has worked on stuff. I think where you're probably mistaken is Greg Kenham, I believe, worked on Lost Boys with Eve. I believe the two of them worked together, possibly. But honestly, I don't know. I would have to email Greg. Honestly, I don't know. I don't remember. I know for a fact Steve Johnson was the head of Fright Night and worked on Fright Night. He was like, so it was 85. All right. Okay, so again, I'm going to switch to this Extrude profile brush. Okay, this gives us a bunch of profiles. And this is what I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to go with a little bit smaller brush size. And let's go in here to my stroke. Okay, and my lazy mouse is turned up to 30. I'm going to drop this down to 10. Okay, is what I'm going to do. All right, I got that dropped to 10 now. Okay, and then now I can just draw along this eyelid right here and do something like that. And you can see this is what we get. Right? And what I want is something that looks more like eyelids. And I got to think structurally that this is going to be a miniature 3D print, right? I'm going to probably print this out maybe 58 millimeter range, 55 millimeter range. So I need, this doesn't look like eyelid enough right now. But it needs to be solid like this. So I'm going to switch to maybe something here. Let's see what this one looks like. There, that one looks a lot better, right? That's starting to look like an eyelid now, right? Like eyelashes is what I'm trying to make here. Something that represents her eyelashes is what I'm trying to do right now. Then there's maybe this one. Maybe we'll just click on that one. So then there's that one. So I could use that one as well. It really comes down to which one do I think is working better. I think I'm going to go with this one. Just has a little bit, I like how it's coming off the eye a little bit more, and it'll support that. So let's go, let's see, brush size now. Yeah, let's go a little bit in that size. Maybe even just a little bit smaller. Yeah, there we go. Something maybe like that. Okay. Now, what I also want to do here is this. Okay. I don't want this, when I'm drawing this out, right? I don't want everything to be consistent, actually. I want some change, okay, in there. So what I'm going to do is come in here to my stroke palette, all right? So this is This is one of these. It's one of those Lisa Needs Braces moments. Okay, and I'm going to come here to my curve modifiers, and I'm going to turn on size. Right? But what I'm also going to do is adjust the size. So this graph below is controlling the size. So right now, we'll just get a tapering look. See, like, so you just look at that. It's starting to bring her to life a little bit more. See, just those are her eyebrows. You can see that's starting to make her pop a little bit more. Come off. A little bit more crazy. Right? So I want for these eyelashes to have a double taper. So I'm going to add another point here in the middle. And I'm going to bring this one way down to the bottom. So now I got a kind of like this bell curve happening. So when I go now and draw this out, right, I'm going to get something now more like this, where the bulk of what's in the eyelash is happening at the partner. Because if you go look at your eyelashes, the length of your eyelashes are not the same consistent across the board, right? And obviously, the majority of your eyelash, the thickest part, is usually towards the center more, and a little bit maybe coming a little bit more towards the nose, because eyelashes are meant for something. They're meant to protect our eyeballs from like dirt and dust. So your eyelashes are supposed to catch that stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna go with. I definitely see that in her makeup they did. Like she's got some pretty powerful eyelashes here, right? So I'm going to go stronger out here and then gradual in here, right? So this is going to then say this is where I'm going to say. So I'm going to say maybe, let's go like this maybe. Let's see if I got that, right? So I'm going to go actually the other direction. I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to actually even focal shift this over like that. So that when I draw out, right, you see it's getting bigger out here, right? And this portion, and then it starts to tapering off, right? Because I want that. I want that look. Okay, so it's now just me finding, I'm using a little bit of that lazy mouse. I'm actually just following my topology to kind of make that eyelash happen. Let's go a little bit more, let's see, a little bit bigger. Let's go maybe 7. So we can get a little bit more of an eyelash in there. Right? Oh, I have subdivision almost came back again. Right? Just give it more. Yeah, there. Something like that. Right? And then I'll be able to sculpturally do a little things in here. Okay? And then down here at the bottom, she needs something down here at the bottom as well. So we need to go a little bit down into through here. Something like that, but let's have be way down in here. Let's go up right along the edge here then. Something like that. Right, so she's got these crazy eyelashes. Like, see, that alone, that starts bringing things to life. Okay, go ahead with your question. All right, and then now I'm going to split those off. And we're going to just call those our eyelashes. Okay, now we got something like that. All right, and now let's put something here to start representing the mouth and the craziness in her mouth. And yeah, we're going to get to hair here in a second too. So let's put something to start, you know, she's got a lot going on. If we're looking from the side, like those teeth are popping out of her face. Like they don't stay like ours, right? Ours, if we smile crazy, even big, our teeth aren't coming out like this. And I think this is a key thing to look at. All right, especially for something I'm trying to make those teeth come off and be like that. I want them to be crazy. Okay? So, what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and let's insert a sphere. I'm going to use a sphere, and I'm going to rename this. This is going to be called Gums. And let's go ahead and put this in Dynamesh. mode because I'm going to do a lot of damaging to this. I like to start really low. So I'm going to drop my resolution pretty low. And I'm going to put Dynamesh. Okay? I'm going to size this down and make this represent her gums, in essence. Maybe something like that there. Something a little bit like that. Okay, now. So what is going to change here? What's going to happen here? Okay? What's going on, Joe Peterson? It's been a long time, yeah, man. Good to see you in here. Cinna, I've shown this before. You might have missed it. Putting a photo in the center, it automatically drops to the center. The symmetry, it's not going to look, the images when you drop it in, it doesn't know symmetry. It doesn't know left or right. You got to do that. So when you drop in an image in your draw palette, if I'm going to drop in one of these, like let's say I want to drop this one in, it gets just, the image is just being dropped in based upon the image size and the grid size. That's it. There's no way to know, hey, this image, this is the center. Because even this image doesn't even really have a center because her face is turned a little bit. So what you got to do is use the floor grid to your benefit. Okay, so down here at the bottom, what I would recommend is open up your modifiers and turn your floor grid opacity all the way up. So you can really see your floor grid. And that way you can see the middle of your floor grid, which in essence is the middle of the world. Okay, it's just going to be visually easier. Okay, so right there is the center of the world, center of the floor grid. So the image just needs to be moved over now. So now I come over here, right? And then I put in this front back, and that's why there's these sliders. So I would just move this image to right there. There's the center. Then there, now it's placed where I want it to be. And in this case, I got to pick one side of this image because it's not perfect, right? So I got to pick one of them. That's what I would do. But if you have images that are already set up perfectly, like let's say you're making some kind of hard surface thing maybe, and you're going to literally go get the blueprints of that object, it's going to probably already have symmetrical in the image itself. So there's no way to just, I guess from what I understand what you're trying to ask, the floor grid is not going to go, oh, here's an image. It can't read what's in the image, right, to know how to make it symmetrical. So, all right, hopefully that answers your question, helps. All right, so moving along now. All right. So we got a mouth sack. So something that also is new to Dynamesh. All right, every one of you use Dynamesh, and don't tell me you don't. You all are Dynameshers. You all got that little Dynamesh itch, for sure, right? Okay, now, what's new to Dynamesh is there's actually now 2 types of way to have the resolution be read now inside of ZBrush. Okay? So you guys, depending on what you're doing and what you're making, when we are Dynameshing like I am right now, and I keep re-Dynameshing, you can see the resolution is changing. And that resolution is controlled by really a couple major items. One being, okay, the resolution slider itself. The other one being the actual resolution slider. All right, so right now I don't have enough. So I'm going to throw some more. Let's just put this at 128 right now. Okay, and I'm going to smooth this out. And then there, I've got some more resolution. Now, what's happening here is there is a distinct size to this, okay? And what I mean by size is if we go look at just only this mouth thing that I'm putting, which is going to become her gums, right? This is a size. This has got something unique in size, all right? So what I want to do now is, what if you guys have done this where you've been working, right? And let's say, as an example, we are here. Let me get this a little bit more like gum, like mouth-like, more like a crazy. Again, I'm remaking in essence a mouth sack here, but her gums, because of what's happening, is got to be a little bit more crazy, right? And I'm going to be doing a lot with this. Okay, let's just say we got something. Let's just say something more like this. Right? And again, we're gonna be expanding upon this a lot more. Okay? Now, you guys start to do things like this along your pathway of sculpting. I might take something like this and say, okay, I want to put a tooth in like that, right? And then let's read that, and then do this, and then position this where maybe I want it to go, and then switch back to maybe a move, and then, whoop, this is going to be some kind of really crazy tooth down here at the bottom. Right, and you're going to see this is where it's going to start. Once we start dealing with all this stuff in play, how it starts to get more vampire-like. Right, and then, right, so you can see how it's starting to... Now, when you guys read Dynamesh, right, this is welding. It's maintaining your polygroup as long as you're going to have your poly paint on. It's going to maintain your polygrouping, okay? So here's something new to the version that we just released yesterday. And again, it's just a patch, but we added a couple little things along the way, okay? So we added the ability now for you guys to actually even control your Dynamesh resolution a little bit, okay? I'm with you, Leroy. I think it's just a fun... I like to call it Dyna sketching as well. Now, you guys also work like this, where you've got this ability, where you've got this happening, where I've got now, if I insert, let's say we go back to brush, insert, let's grab this, and let's change the depth of this so that it sits inside my gums when I draw on it. So I'm going to say, oh, I need to have stuff that represents teeth all along here, right? There's got to be some teeth there. And I'm just right now just putting some kind of placeholder teeth kind of holders, right? And again, this is what's going to start making her look like wonky crazy, right? Even just the spheres alone, see, starting to give that look already. And all it is just spheres right now. Now, when I read Dynamesh, okay, because I've turned on this option, groups right here, which I love this. This is kind of what we talked about in the beginning of the stream. This is looking at geometrical shells, right? And so what I mean by shell is each tooth was a sphere, right? They were in no way connected. There was no connecting happening. Even if they were to overlap, they would not weld together with Dynamesh, because that groups option is saying, okay, every single polygroup, all right, needs to be maintained and be maintained as its own shell, like a fist, right? There's no welding happening. Okay, so here, we're going to do a little screenshot. Does everyone understand so far what I'm saying before I do that? And I'm going to turn off this for now. Okay, does everyone get what I'm saying? Yes, anybody not understand what I'm saying while I take a drink of water here? Okay, so now what you guys have the ability to do, and this is a prime example, is there is now a little dot in the resolution here. So I'm going to turn this on. Okay, so by default it's off, so it's closed, is off. Okay, opened is on. What this is going to do now is literally look at each one of these shells and give it its own resolution now. Right? So you can see, look at the one on the left. Look at all of those. Look how really low, like look how low polygon that one is. Look at that. And that's pretty much being lost. Look, this is maintaining. This one right here is that right there. Right? Look at that right there. And these three in the back. And then look at them there. Look at this one. Look, that's not even a sphere over here. And it's still spherical shaped right there. Right? So with this on, this little icon now on, you can now tell Dynamesh, hey, I'm working with a model that's got a lot of different meshes in it. Like it's one subtool with a bunch of different size meshes. There's small stuff, there's large stuff. I need you to pay attention to that and not just do a general resolution across everything. Okay? And then now what it's doing is not just a general, everything gets the same resolution anymore. It's looking at this and going, okay, there are different size stuff here and different things going on. They need to get different resolutions. Okay? And that's why some of it now is being a little bit more maintained through here. So this is going to be great for you guys, this new addition to it, right? Okay, so that's something new as well. That's a new feature added only to the patch that was released yesterday. You got to be using 2021.6.3. If you have, and obviously your guys' program tells you every time you launch ZBrush, it tells you there's an update. If there's an update, okay, you just go run your upgrader or go get the full installer if you want to. Whatever you want, okay, whatever you want to do. All right, let's move on. Let's move on because of just the time. We're already coming up on 12:30. I might come back to the mouth, but you guys can clearly see now where I'm going with the mouth. And now the benefit, people, if I go to move topological, even this, if I go really big, because these are all still geometrical shells, I can still manipulate just only the gums, right? Because this is probably what I want the gums to do, something more like this. Like I want that gum to be tucked up in a little bit like that. And you can even see we bring the images back. That's kind of how it's going to be, right? This gum shouldn't stick way out like this. It should come across more like this. And then now do something more like that. Right? This is really what this gum should start really looking like. Right? Like something like that. Right? And then these teeth now need to come way down. Right? So what I can do is switch my draw size to 1. And I'm looking at this and then going, okay, this tooth comes down, 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 down. And then go to this angle. Maybe I'll position it there, 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 there. Right? So I'm using move topological right now to kind of just manipulate things and put them in different spots. Okay? But of course you guys can also do it this way, right? Where you can use your gizmo, okay? In here, right? You have the ability to use your gizmo to mask things off, okay? And start moving things around as well. So there's a lot of ways you guys could go about doing this, right? So it's really, it's your world. There, it's up to you. Okay, to do this. And I switched my transpose. Let me switch back to the default. So you can do stuff like this, right? Really, it's just about being as quick as possible here, right? And then now this tooth is going to sit probably right there. And then this tooth needs to come in a little bit more. This tooth needs to come in a little bit, and a little bit, and we'll push that one in, and let's even bring that one down, and then this one, let's push this in. There you go. And then redynamesh, and because I have the groups on, I know all this is being maintained, right? And then now do the other side, and let's just position this. So let's, however, mask out the other side, and I want these to be kind of different, right? So to make this faster, I'm going to now do this for myself. I don't want symmetry in these teeth, so I'm going to auto group so every single sphere right now gets its own. And there's going to be another way that we can do teeth too that I wanted to show, but you know what, let's do it. I'm going to show you. We might not be able to get to the hair today, but maybe we'll try. We will try. That's all I can do, because I'm trying to make something that looks cool. Is it cool? I don't know. I'm just more throwing like, be art. Yeah, let's just, okay? You guys get the idea here. I'm not going to sit here and quickly just keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny here, although I just can't help myself. I'm going to turn off the floor so you guys can see that better. Something like that. Yes. Right? And then now, don't forget, everybody, about the other new addition, right? If I want to work on, right, these teeth right here, and I kind of just want to work on them and not worry about anything else, this is all one subtool right now. It's made up of multiple polygroups, right? So we can select like this, right? Each polygroup. But don't forget, you guys can now do this and then say, give me everything, right? So now I can get just certain polygroups depending on their polygroup. I can even just say, give me only the red, right? Or I can say, you know, I want to work on the gums with these front teeth. So I can do something like this, and then say, now give me everything, and then now I've got everything, right? Don't forget about that new addition as well. It's going to be very, very beneficial. Okay, so this is obviously a way to go about making some teeth, right? Just plopping in stuff, right? And then just now I rework these to start making them look like this. And you guys, this has got to get crazy, right? Because her teeth are not normal. They shouldn't be clean. They shouldn't be what we're looking for. Now, another thing that you guys could do is this. Let's go and let's grab something. Let's grab a sphere. Okay, we'll make that a polymesh. Let's go ahead and dynamesh this. Oh, Oh, Dinah. Okay, that's enough of that. And let's switch to move. Let's go ahead and symmetry, but let's also do symmetry along the Z. And let's making like a quick little molar tooth here. Pretty easy. Some kind of molar. Just very quick. Should push in. Do Dynamesh. Right, some kind of quick little molar tooth. There. Right? Maybe. She is a vampire. So let's put a little bit more sharpness in there. There we go. And let's tweak this. Let's go ahead and let's taper this. Taper a little bit. Something like that, I guess. Looks good to me. All right. There's one. Right? Then I could duplicate this. And then now this one, let's change it up a little bit. Maybe it's got a chip in the tooth. Okay, so in essence, the goal here would be is to make a couple variations to all of this. Okay? And start working on this. Now, before we go down this rabbit hole of doing this, what's going to be important for us is your topology count. Okay? So right now, each one of these are sitting at like 74,000 polygons. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remesh these now down. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to go as low as I can actually. I'm going to go to 500. And I'm going to remesh this one. So I'm going to say 500. I don't need a lot. Okay? I just need a little bit here to help me remesh this. Yes. Yes, the blood diet. The shortcut is Control-Shift-Q to now select out an entire, only the polygroup. So if you have just a partial polygroup selected, Control-Shift-Q now will grow this selection to the stop, and it'll stop at that polygroup. Okay, so you guys can see this is what I want. I want something low like this. Okay, so let's just duplicate a few of these. Let's go ahead and delete. Well, we'll keep that one. Let's go ahead and remesh this one now. So we want this one at 0.5 as well for 500. We'll remesh that. Just reading through your guys' comments right now why it's remeshing. John, scale dependency is still involved in Dynamesh. And then no. To your question, Joe. No, that's a hidden little feature for the move Topological. It's because Topological is turned on. That's why it's working. Control-Shift-A is grow all. It's very different. It's very, 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 very different. It's not the same. Right? So here, once again, here you go. Since you guys are asking, look at this model. Okay? See, there are different shells. Okay? And some of those shells, like these two capsules, have the same polygroup. See? They have the same polygroups. Okay? And then see, this body's made up of different polygroups. Okay? Control-Shift-A does this. If I do this and Control-Shift-A, it grows the entire body. You get the whole body because it's an entire completed mesh. Okay? It's a shell. It's a complete shell. But the new feature, see, I'm doing the same thing. See, it stops at the legs. It stops at the polygroup. Does that make sense? That's the difference between Control-Shift-A. It's big. This is a big new addition, everybody. To the point, again, if I even just show only this. Look, if I even show just literally one polygon of this spherical thing, just one. I'm showing one triangle, and I do Control-Shift-Q, I get both capsules on both sides. Because all these capsules have the same polygroup. That's very different than if I do Control-Shift-A. See, Control-Shift-A only gives me the two. Because these two are not connected in any shape, way, or form to the other two capsules except for the polygroups in common. So now you guys have the ability to grow out, boom, and get that. This is a big, big addition, people. And I can do this and go, boom, give me the arms, right? And once again, this is only available in the what we released yesterday, which is the patch, which is 2021.6.3. And there's a new button now called Grow to Polygroups. Okay? No, the scale's always got to be used in Dynamesh, if that's what you're asking. No, scale always has to be used. There's no way around that. That's the way the code's working. It's got to look at the volume of the mesh to figure out the resolution to give the mesh. There's no way around that. Okay, unfortunately. Okay, so back to the teeth. All right, so we got something like this. Let's go ahead and let's take this one and let's just make this one be very different. So let's polish the heck out of this. So I'm just going to use the Deformation Polish here, and let's look at just this. In fact, let's use Sculptress Pro in a really big brush size so I can really damage this tooth up. Start from scratch in here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, there we go. So another approach for us is making various teeth, okay? And finding a bunch of teeth that you might want to make. And then in my case, hold on, the shortcut thing's in my way. Okay, there. Making a tooth. Let's make some teeth, just a different type of tooth in here, and do something like that. There. Let's turn that on. Okay, there. I'm going to remesh this now because I want this to be better topology than what I got. Again, I'm going low, and there's a reason here that you guys are going to see here in a second why I want to go low. All right, now that I got this, what we've got now is a couple different teeth, right? And here, I'll duplicate this one a couple more times. And then let's duplicate this one a couple more times. And the naming is going to be important. The name of your subtool is going to be important. Now, what we're going to be able to do with this is use this to create a brush, right? So I can say, let's go brush. Make sure you guys can see it. And right here, create insert multi-mesh brush. Okay, this is the same thing as going to the brush palette. Okay, and then coming down here to create. And then clicking right here, create insert multi-mesh brush. Same thing. Okay, so when I click this, it grabs all the subtools that I have, right? And puts them up here in my selector. Okay, so now as a user, if I go back to her, right? And let's duplicate the gums. And let's make another version of the gums. Okay, and then let's say, let's delete those temporary spherical shapes. So I got one that has the spherical shapes. I got one that's one. So now what I can do is start putting in these teeth, right? But you notice how I'm drawing them out right now. Everyone see that? So how you pick up is going to be important. So what I'm saying is, right now I pick these up a certain way. The way that, you know, am I going to draw them out looking at it like this? Okay, what way am I going to draw this out, in essence? Okay, that's important to me. Okay, so me, I like to look, I'd probably look at the teeth like this. I'd probably look this way. So what I want to do is come back here, and I'm going to look at the top of the teeth instead. Okay, and then I'm going to say, let's make a brush of this. So I'm going to say, brush. Let's do that again. Create insert. Let's go to brush. Create insert multi-mesh. And you'll see the icons are very different now, right? They're all looking at us, right? So when I go now and start putting this in, right? So now this is what I would want, something like that, okay? And the next thing that I'd want to do is some depth controls. But before I do that, what's going to be nice is if I'm making a brush, what something could be beneficial for you guys is let's say you've got you took the time and made 50 different teeth, right? And maybe you got a bunch of different teeth, different angles and stuff. You guys also can do this. I can say these meshes that are looking straight at the top of the tooth, and then I have a version of the brush, right, where the teeth are looking at the side of the teeth, right? And we can do this all day now. I can go in side of the teeth now this direction, like this instead. Brush, right? Create multi. See, now that's a different one. So technically now I have 3 of these brushes, Okay, and you guys down here, look at the bottom. Look at the bottom closest to me, camera-wise. Okay, they're the three right here. They're all different. I got a tooth that's from top down view. I got a tooth that's, you know, looking from the top down, and I got a profile top down. I got a profile bottom down, right? So this is bottom down, which means the bottom is starting here and then it goes to top. This is looking top profile, and then this is looking at the profile from the top of the tooth. So here's something you guys can do that I think is really beneficial and can help you as well. I've got this one, so watch this. I'm going to say, all right, this is cool. I'm going to go to brush now, and I'm going to say copy meshes. And now I'm going to click on this one, which is the tooth on the top, and I'm going to say paste append. And now I've got that variation in that one. And now let's go and grab the third one, and I'm going to say brushes again, copy meshes, go back to the one now that has 18, and then I go to brush and paste append. And now I literally just turned 3 I didn't even mean for that to happen. I turned 3 brushes that have 3 different views of the teeth, and I made them all one now. So I copied the meshes from one brush and pasted it into another. So in essence now I've got a brush that's like a toothbrush, no pun intended, that has different views. Because depending on what how I want to approach her, right? I can now use these. And I would also want to go here in my depth and probably play with this in bed so that when I draw this out, see the tooth is going to sit somewhat inside, right? And if I go to this one, see it's sticking out, right? So I want this one to be here and like that, right? I want to do, and then I say, okay, let's make this have this so the tooth does that instead, and then I can move it where I want. I can rotate it, right? I want this to sit a little bit in the gums. So I take the time, probably each one of these, make the embed 0. So that when I'm drawing, see it's sitting inside of her gums. And see I can adjust this and put this where I want. And then there's the tooth. Right? And then I've got variations of these. Here's the front one. So this is now looking at the tooth differently. It's looking at it from the front, right? So this maybe be the one that I want to go. Okay? And then do something like that. But this, I would probably want to embed this as well. So I'm going to do an embed of 0, draw that out, and then that's what I'm looking for, something more like that. Okay? So once the names are in the brush, it's not possible to rename them. It's grabbing it from the subtool name. You got to make your subtools be the right names. You're asking a question, is there a brush that pulls geometry towards the camera and that does not stick to geometry surface? Well, it's always going towards the camera, but insert mesh brushes need a surface to draw on, so it's going to find a vertex point. But if you want it to always be straight ahead like I was doing, yes, that's possible. That's what I was doing in essence, right? So if, here, let's do it this way. Let's make a new insert mesh brush with the actual arrow so you can see it. So let's do this. Let's make a new one. Okay, so now that I have this arrow, right? When I draw it, right? See the arrow's doing this. Okay, in that direction. I don't have to do that. See, I can adjust it. See that? So what you can do is use the gizmo. Okay? So if you reset your gizmo to look at the world, okay? Like this, when you're drawing out, see? Is this what you're looking for? So what I'm doing, just look at my little menu, guys. Like you guys asked for it, so I'm giving you the bottom left corner. It's already giving you what I'm pressing on my keyboard, the shift key. So then when I draw out and then hold the shift key, it goes and finds the gizmo orientation and makes the orientation of the insert mesh brush along the gizmo. Okay, does that make sense for you? That's what's happening. Okay, so back to the tooth. I'm assuming that answers your question. Okay, so something else that I'd want to probably do is let's go back to say this one. Okay, and now I'm going to turn on curve mode. All right, and now what I get when I do this is a bunch of the teeth. See that? Okay, so this one I need the depth to change. So again, I want that embed to be probably at 0. Okay, and then the teeth are pretty repetitive. It's a little crazy right now how repetitive they are. Right? What's going on here? Okay, a little too repetitive. So the next thing that I probably want to do is in my stroke, change this stepping. Okay, so I probably want, I don't know, let's do 1.5. Let's try that one first. And see there's some gaps happening in there. Because I'm going to probably change up these teeth a lot too. Okay, so maybe if you don't want that much gap in between them, then you just find the number here that you like. Maybe 1.2, right? And this is controlling the stepping that's happening there. Now, what this is doing is obviously repeating the one tooth that I have selected, right? Over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? So what I might want to do, and I'll come back to your questions after this, is something a little different. What I might want to do is I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's just say 9 teeth variations. I got 9 different teeth happening here. So what I'm going to do now is tell ZBrush, hey, I've got 9 teeth, and I want to use this to my benefit. And I've taken the time, like these are really just rudimentary teeth right now. Okay, I want to draw these out and make these work. Okay, so I got the first one selected. I got curve mode on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the brush palette. Okay, and I'm going to open up my modifiers. And you can see the icon right here showing the tooth I currently have selected. Right? And what I want to tell ZBrush to do is I want a variation of 9 different teeth along the curve. So that's why there's a variation slider right here. Okay? And to turn this on is Shift M. Again, Shift M. And you can see, again, look at my shortcut window down in the bottom left corner. Okay? And that variation, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to put 9 and then hit enter. So now I got a variation of 9. What does that mean? It means this. Now when I draw this out, I'm getting, you know, I want to get variations here. Okay? But what type of variation do I want is now the next thing here. I want now, I've got a variation of 9, but I need to tell it, how do I want to cycle through those variations? So I want to say just cycle forward. So we're just going to put this at 1. And then now when I draw out, you'll see it's cycling through. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, and then back to 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's cycling through and going, okay, I got to give you the first 4, then the next 3, and then the next 2, and then start all over again. Right? So now you have something like this happening, which is great. And now I can even do this, and I can even say, let's just do random. Let you, ZBrush, decide what teeth to put in there, and it's just random. Okay, and then if I'm liking these spike teeth, I can now switch to that one. That's the first one, right? And I can add, this one can now also have its own variation. So I can say a variation of 3 and be random. And then now when I do, it's only grabbing, see, the spiky ones. Right? And then, of course, this, I want my depth once again to be 0. And then now come across and look at, see, this is now, this is the world I should be living in with this character. Teeth more like this. Okay? And then now I'm having a variations through here. And then, of course, I can change this one and say I want that variation to be now 5. And then when I'm tapping, I'm going to get now variations in there. And then if I go back, right, to, if I go back to the first one, right, you'll see that one's back to this. So what in essence I'm trying to tell you guys is, this is why I was showing you guys how to combine the brushes. I can have variations all over the board in this. So with this mesh selected, the settings are here. Okay, you watch, if I select this one, the settings are not the same. But and then if I select this first one, it's got completely different settings now. So you guys can have whole types of different variations through this at any time. And it can come in very, very beneficial, very helpful in here. Okay? Hold on, let me go back. I'm looking at your question. How do you turn on the feature that shows the keys to you pressed? Oh, that's not a feature. That's another program I'm running. That's a program. If you want to know the program, it's called QI Press. Here. That's not ZBrush. QI Press. And I'm using light. But I don't think I need to purchase. It looks like this is working for you guys. So this is the free version I'm using. That's what's making my this little menu down here pop up. That's what's making that pop up right there. Okay. Does this reset if you turn off the brush? Well, you can't turn the brush off. If you don't save the brush out, you have to do this all over again. But if you save the brush out, okay, if you go to actually saving this brush, let me turn off this. If you go here and you say save as, this is all saved now. But if you shut ZBrush down, everything I did is gone, right? So you'll need to do that if you're going to make a brush like what I've been messing with here. Bother. Wait, so hey guys, sorry about it. There's a circle around my cursor and everything inside. Yeah, you've turned on the magnifier, John. So John, you're talking about this? You're talking about this is what you have? You just turned on the magnifier. It's Shift M to turn on the magnifier on and off. That's how you do it. Okay? Right? So obviously this is kind of the route that I want to go. Okay? I want to start making some crazy teeth, but I want to just quickly populate some, right? I just want some teeth in here. So let's undo everything I did. And I want this one because I'm just going to go, I want some teeth in here, but I don't want the molars. So I'm going to make this just 3. I just want the spiky ones right now. Something like that, and then come here and keep drawing. Something like that. Okay, and that's good. I'm tapping on the surface to delete the curve up there. And then now I want some teeth down here. So I want those teeth to start right about there. They come way out. Okay, I need to come this direction instead. So I want to come out like that. Maybe a little too much. Yeah, something in that world. And then bingo. Now, remember what I've already taught you guys today or discussed with you guys today, right? You can see the gums got one set of teeth, right? Set of teeth. Polygroups, and then the top teeth now and the bottom teeth all have their own polygroups, right? So keep in mind, I'm in Dynamesh mode. So I turn on my Dynamesh resolution and I've turned groups on. So when I go to reDynamesh, you can see I'm getting pretty dense, right? Teeth now. But you can see some of the teeth are welding, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is, like we discussed, okay, I'm going to open up my Polygroups menu, and I'm just going to apply a different polygroup to every single tooth. So that when I reDynamesh, I'm getting, you can clearly see how much more dense the teeth are than the gums. And that's because I've got this new option turned on in resolution, right? Okay, so it's open on. Just like open hand. I can grab stuff, closed hand I can't grab stuff, right? Open hand grab, so it's open. My hand's open, so that's an open circle. Closed hand's closed, off. It's closed, it's off. That's the best way I think I can tell you. Right, and that way, I've got all this ability for me to go wherever I want with this, okay? So that's been new to, again, 2021.6.3. I've also shown you guys the new polygroup stuff. One other thing I want to show you that's new as well, okay? Which we're going to also add a couple other little things for you. And one thing that we've added is some new brushes. So I'm going to grab the head now, right? And I'm going to go brush. And I'm going to say curve. And there are now 2 new flat brushes. All right. So there's a curve flat. Okay. And then there's a curve flat snap. Okay. So one's going to snap to the surface when it's being drawn. And the other is not. That's all it is. And what this is going to be useful for is hair cards. for like say gaming, or maybe you want to make a ribbon or whatever. Like this is gonna be really handful of like ribbons for sure. Okay, so what you're gonna be able to do is grab this now, and then when you draw out, right? Well, let's go a lot smaller and not symmetry. I can draw out like this, see? And you can see how it's going through the head when I draw this one out. See, and it's camera plane dependent in essence, right? And it's got all the just repeating a plane, just okay. So now that you got this in here, right? That's what you have, okay? Is that kind of element in there, right? So you can see it's not following literally the surface. So this is the other new one is flat snap, and you can see now it's trying to snap to the surface. It's just low polygon, so it can only do so much, right? So see, I can do stuff like this, and now this, you see, is following, okay, the curve of the mesh, right? And then you guys can adjust your polygrouping spans by coming here in the stroke mode, and see mine's set to 2 right now by default. If you guys change this to 1, then there'll be more topology, and there'll be more, see, rectangles. So you're getting more topology through there. And then, of course, the lower and lower you put this, right, the more, in essence, detailed that stroke is going to be. Right? So then as a user, I would probably watch. I'd do something like this now. Let's go ahead and split this off. Right? And now this one, let's say, is kind of what's going to be some kind of, like this is a hair card, but maybe for me, I'm printing. So a hair card's not going to work for me. So I want some volume. So I'm going to turn on Dynamic Subdiv. And in Dynamic Subdiv, I'm going to add some thickness now. Right? So now I got this. And this is what I mean by ribbons. There's like a ribbon. And now all day, I can do this. But really what I'm drawing are just planes. Right? And now you got these strips happening through here all over the place, right? And then that's following the surface. I don't know what you're talking with the standard brush characters home. You might have to send, I don't know any issue with the standard brush. I have no issues with the standard brush. So you'd have to, probably be best to send a support ticket, and so we can ask you questions and understand completely and share images and stuff, because I don't know any issue with the standard brush at all. I'm not sure what you're meaning, stepping. It's fine for me. I've got no issues in here. I got Sculptors Pro on right now. Like, this is my standard brush. There's nothing unordinary there. Okay, so, but if you have something, it'd probably be best to send something into support for us. Okay, so those are also been added. That's also a new item. Okay, in there. Always change the stepping so there's no dots when brushing. Are you talking when you get really high in polygon count? And now is what I'm assuming is what you're referring to. I guess is what you're referring to. I don't see. This is what I'm saying. You sending in a support would be best. Support would be best, because I'm not sure what you are doing and at what stage of sculpting you're talking about. So if you're talking about this, like if you go real fast, you might get, especially in higher polygon count. Like, I can't even make it happen. What I think is you're talking about. Yeah, there's 21 million. Like, this is still actually clean. I'm assuming because you're getting maybe little dots or stepping in there. Characters home, I would say send in something, because in my 13 years of working in Pixologic, I've never had anybody come to me and say there's an issue with the standard brush, in all honesty. So, but if there is something there, send in a support ticket so that one of us can work with you and see what it is specifically you're talking about. All right, so we can get to the bottom of that, because this will be too hard. I'm just playing guessing right now. Okay, great. Because yeah, Omar just chimed into his seems fine. So there's got to be something. So we'll get it to us, and then we'll get in with you in the ticket, and we'll see what it is. Okay, wait. I'm just looking at questions. How will the help with the amount of hair? Ibram, we're at it. Well, I'm not going to be able to really go deep in the hair today because it's already 1 o'clock for my time. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to get going here soon. So I'm not going to dive into the hair for this stream. We're going to have to do that in another stream. Because there's techniques I'm going to show you for the hair. There's a lot of ways to do this for the hair, for sure. And depending on your pipeline and what you're doing, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different stuff for the hair, for sure. Okay, so you guys can see it. Obviously, number one of them being, believe it or not, there is a lot of ways to, in essence, use fiber mesh, right? And so that would have been one of the techniques that I was going to show you guys, right? So I don't even know if you're aware of it, so let me just show you really quick so you can understand. So wherever I mask out, I'm going to be able to put some hair, in essence. So, but there are a lot of different techniques, and I can even use it for 3D printing. There are some things I'm going to be able to do. Right, and so I want these to be a little bit longer. I want way more coverage. Now she's going crazy, and we need better profiles. Not enough profiles. We're gonna get some more segments. See, and then now I want her hair maybe to go like that. Now she looks like she's blowing in the wind. Right, so there's gonna be stuff like this that I'm gonna cover with you guys. But there's some things I can do with this fiber mesh too. Okay. All right, is there any other questions that I missed? Let me also make sure that I did not miss any of the new items as well. Let me see, I got you, okay, so the new dot and dynamesh I gave you guys. The new polygroup growing, yes. The new 2 brushes. Also what's new, some other couple other quick new items for you all. Is here, I don't want, okay, let me, yep, is the curved tube brushes now. So there's curved tube and curved tube snap where you guys are using these, okay, and if you have a color like this, right, so if we fill this, let's fill this her with some white right now. Actually, might help if I actually selected white, okay, and I grab a color, I can do this. But if you guys now turn on gradient, so you can have a gradient now on this. So if you want to draw something else out, you can pick a different color here, right? And whatever color you have selected here, you have a gradient through there. So this has been added to 2021.6.3, okay? So this has been added. Yeah, Omar, that's what I just covered. You have to get 2021.6.3 now. There's nothing you can do about that because we added the ability to take a flat plane and project and then make a mesh along the curve. Okay, so the Omar right here, this is why there's new brushes right here. That's why there's a curve flat now and a curve flat tube snap, right? So this is what you want right there. See? You got to now use those 2 brushes to do what you're asking. That's why you need this version. That's new to this version. It's not going to work in the previous version. Okay. All right. What also is new is now, if you guys are ever using the undo history, which I find very beneficial for me, I use it a lot, especially with the history brush. So as an example, okay, let me just quick save this so we have a version of her. I'm not gonna probably keep this. I'm probably gonna do it all over again. Let's go to earthquake. Here's earthquake. All right, so this is, you guys have this in even the current version, okay? So, but what's new to 0.3, okay, 2021.6.3, is let's say this body is important to me, so I'm gonna hold control and make a marker over here in my undo history. So here, if I start sculpting some stuff on here, right, you'll see there's a gray little marker point there. That's telling ZBrush to look at this undo of this particular subtool. Now, if I switch to the body, okay, you'll see now that marker's red now. This is what's new to 0.6.3. That's an indicator telling you there's an undo on a different subtool in your model, or a different, completely different model. Because it doesn't even have to be the same tool. It can be a completely different tool, actually. It doesn't matter. Okay? So when you guys see that red marker now in your undos, that's a visual cue to you that you saved an undo somewhere. So be mindful of that, because depending on the brush that you're using, it's looking now at that undo state. So as an example, I've switched now to the clothing. And if I switch to, say, something like the history brush, like this, okay, and I start doing this, look what I'm doing. I'm actually projecting the body into the clothing, right? So if we look at just this, you can see the body, and look, even if I only look and solo out, this is what's being put in this. So not only paint, but also sculpturally is being done. See that? So that's because of this red marker, right? And then this brush is calling on that undo state, which then undo state's actually on the body, right? And you see now it's gray on him, and I go back to this, it turns to red. Okay? Well, that's a good, Zephyrus, that's a good call out. That person who was having an issue with the standard brush, make sure you don't have dynamic subdiv turned on. That's a great call out. I think that's a good job. Nice. That's what this is all about, people. We're all a community helping each other, right? So that person's having an issue with the standard brush. Make sure you also don't have dynamic subdiv turned on, right? So if I was down to something like this, right, and I deleted these and I do this, it looks smooth. But if you're going to use the standard brush, right, this is not going to work the same. Here, let me undo state. Right, so I don't know. This is what that person was calling out. So I'm actually sculpting on not a smooth version. I'm actually sculpting on this version. Okay. Hold on. Let me look. Okay, so that's something new also for our undo states. There's now the red marker to let you know visually if there's an undo. Hold on, I'm just expecting. Okay, it looks like I've gotten caught up. Daisuke, you're in here. Did I miss something that maybe needs a visual answer done? I just got here. Any recommendations on studios to send your model for 3D printing? There's a lot. I don't know where you live in the world, but three. Let me move this out of the way for a moment. 3 really popular ones that you could go is number 1 would be here. Let me put them in the chat for you. Shapeways would be one, and you can get estimates here. iMaterialize.com is one, and then Sculptio.com is another one. Okay, those 3 for the person that asks. Those are 3 places you can go, and that'll give you just at least go all 3 of those, and you get estimates there. Okay, and then that will at least give you a gauge of what it's going to cost, because no matter who you go to, it's going to be about that price. It's not going to fluctuate huge unless you find someone that owns a printer and is willing to give you a deal, right? Otherwise, those would be where I would start with. Okay. Let's see, the person that asked that help. Okay, sit Rick. So start with those and see where you get with those. I'm using own quality tab. I don't know if Huon tablet's good enough. But if it's an old one, look at, I don't know what you're talking about for your quality of your pressure. Well, there's a lot of stuff controlling that though. So it's not just the tablet, right? It's also you have pressure sensitivity inside a ZBrush to control as well. So in the brush palette itself, there's tablet pressures here. So there's these curves, right? And some brushes are going to use these curves, and some brushes are going to use the global setting. So I'd say whatever brush you're trying to figure out, go look at that brush and see if the global settings are on, or if these settings are, and then these are your pressure sensitivity sliders. In essence, you click on these graphs, and that's how you can affect your pressure sensitivity. Okay? And then the driver itself is going to have also how strong you need to press for pressure sensitivity in the driver itself. Right? So if I pull up, let's see if I can pull up my Wacom one. And then I also have another driver on here too, but the tablet's not hooked up. So right here, right? See the sensitivity? See, there's a tilt, there's a tip feel, like all this, right? And all this stuff is going to fluctuate, right? See that this showing me, this is pushing really hard to get to the max, right? So if you want this to be more firm, right? See, now I'm pushing just as hard, it's barely going, or if you want it to be a softer tip. And this will go to the tip that you're using too. See, I can max out the pressure now. So that also plays a role. So I'd probably go look at their driver. Unfortunately, I don't have their product, so I couldn't tell you. And then your other pressure sensitivity for is right here in your tablet. But this is only going to be used if the brush that you're selecting has this turned on. If this is turned on, then it goes and uses those pressure sensitivities. If this is not turned on, it uses these as your pressure sensitivity as well. And if you still can't get it, my recommendation is a ticket to our support, because then obviously we need to go a lot of back and forth with you and see your screen, see images, maybe videos and all that. So that's what I would recommend. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Let me double check, because unfortunately, I got to get going, everybody. We'll have to do with the hair in another stream. And again, so I've shown you the spotlight stuff. Oh, there's also Go Z update from Maya 2022 and Max 22 now. Oh, and another big addition, actually. I totally forgot about this. Decimation Master. We've reworked that whole plugin. It now can decimate models up to 100 million polygons. So you weren't able to do that in the previous versions. This version now, you guys will be able to bring in a model. Like I did one at 98 million. I decimated it and brought it all the way down to like 400,000 triangles, and it looked identical from the 98 million to the 400,000 triangles. There was no difference. So now Dynamesh Master has been reworked to be more robust. Okay? So hopefully that helps. And the price, since Daisuke, you're commenting, well, like what Daisuke said, your question about chainmail, it's all relevant. Is it really tiny, like a miniature? Because then I would probably fill in the chainmail. I wouldn't have the holes actually in the chainmail. And like toys, you probably would do. If you go look at some toys that have chainmail, they don't make it. They don't keep it chainmail. They fill in because there's molding processes and casting processes, right? But if you're just straight up 3D printing, you could keep the holes. If you're not going to mold or process, you just want to do one-offs, then you can keep the holes. Then I would say, there's a minimal. Let's say, okay, so as an example, if you're going to make something, let's say G.I. Joe 3 and 3/4 inches, right? Size. Like the smaller G.I. Joes, not the big original 12-inch G.I. Joes, the smaller, as an example. Okay, I would say the minimum size you want anything to be is 1 millimeter. I wouldn't go any lower than that. Pushing it maybe 0.8 millimeters. But if you're going to make something like I made my gremlin here, right? That rolls out the door. You know, you got something like this big, right? This is like, you guys can see my body and how big he is. This is 24 inches. This is a totally different rule, right? Like looking at his teeth. Okay, then you could probably just stick with it looking like chainmail because it's going to print fine. Okay, your problem is going to be, I'm coming back to my microphone. Your problem is going to be is all the supports. Like that's going to be a nightmare to clean. So honestly, if you're going to print chainmail, I would make that its own separate print and then put it on the model after the print. Or if you're making chainmail on a model, if it's touching a surface. Let's say you're making chainmail that's going to be for a medieval knight or something like that. Then like this here as an example, let me load something for you guys. Actually, I think I'm on it. Hold on. Looks like I'm actually on it. Oh no, I'm on the vampire stuff still. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta go find it real quick. Oh, it's on this computer. Hold on, I'm on the wrong computer. I've got two computers in front of me. I'm looking at the one. I'm like, where is it? Hold on. Might help if I hook up the hard drive I'm trying to get to the computer that I'm streaming on. So as an example to your question, you take this guy. Okay, this chainmail, right? See this? It would probably make sense, this chainmail, to try and not print all that like this, right? Especially if it's a character. I would have a filler object in there, which ironically this does. This is actually nanomesh doing this. So I just have the mesh turned off, right? So I have this just turned off in here. So there, see, there's an actual tube in there. And then that will print better. And then it also, you don't have to clean this up. That's going to, there's not really any cleaning that's going to need there. Decimation Master can be used for everything. I have people where I use Decimation Master to just also do a render with. You can decimate something, it's going to look exactly the same like it does in ZBrush. Now throw it in your renders, like Arnold or anything else. You don't need displacement maps or anything like that. And just hit render. Nano, nano, nano. All right, so hopefully that helped with your advice with nano and then the chainmail. Okay. Water soluble supports would help a lot. Yes, I agree. Yeah, if you have a printer with water soluble supports with someone, that's the best way to clean. 100%. Otherwise, you're like, if you don't, like, you're sitting here like, look at my gremlin, right? That is a Christmas tree ornament. Right, look at all those supports I gotta break off. A water soluble, I would just put this in water, hot water, and then the supports would go away like that. And then that will be a lot easier to clean. So, but like Daisuke said, it comes down to the model. It comes down to what the size is, what you're doing. Is the chainmail like this, or is the chainmail like chains flying in the air? All that is relevant. Okay. All right, everybody. I appreciate you sticking around with me, watching it. We've been making a vampire banshee woman. So we went through all like the steps I would do, making her mouth open, the steps I do to support that and get to that, getting the teeth. We'll look at doing hair in the next stream. Okay. But other than that, let's see. Do you know any of them? No. I don't think so, Joe. You want to, they'll actually cut up the figure and do the keying? I don't know any company that'll actually, they'll cut up. Companies will cut up the figure for you because they need it to just print better on their printer and faster. So someone will do a cutting up, but not, I don't know any company that also will do the keying for you. No, I don't know any that'll do that for you. There might be, I haven't been on any of those 3 Shapeways, iMaterialize, and Sculpteo in a very long time. So I don't know if they've made some cutting up tools in their program. So they have their own program. When you load the model, you're actually going to pull up a viewer. And they got tools in there to even, I think even some of them, they even will check and see if it's printable, highlight parts that aren't printable. They might even added hollowing out in there for all I know now, right? So, and then their whole libraries there of printers and what materials you use, and then the estimate will update. Like they had all that years ago. So, but maybe they've put something in there for slight. I don't know. I haven't looked. I always do all my own keying for myself. So, I don't know any company though. You could try. Jason Wires would be a great person. He's got great stuff. He does a lot of Marvel and DC. Hold on, let me get. That would be another person for printing. I would probably go to. He's really good. He's here in the U.S. though. But Joe, you're in the U.S., so that's beneficial for you. He's been around for years. I don't know if you know him. Here you go. Here's a link. He might. Obviously, they're going to charge you, right? So there's another. That's a U.S. printer. Hey, go look at his stuff. He does like the really detailed stuff for like superhero stuff. Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of companies. So there's a whole bunch of people. Joe, are you still living in the same area? I don't want to say where you live. I know where you live. Are you still in the same area? There's a company up there in that area. That's a printer company that's done a lot of stuff. I'm drawing a blank on their name right now. Oh, you're okay. All right, well, there's a bunch in Orange County in California. Joe, there's a couple printer companies in Orange County you can throw to them. I've got another one here. Here's another one that's in Orange County. Here's another one. What is she calling it? Darn it. Shoot, I'm going blank on her name. Joe, email me. I got another person that's probably, depending on where you are in Cali. There's a person down here in LA area too. She does a bunch of really good stuff too. I'm going blank right now. I want to say it's something. Hold on. The California 3D. She changed the name of the company years ago, and I can never remember the new name now. I can only remember the old name. It's not coming up. All right, I gotta go find her name in my email so I can remember the name of her company. Email me, Joe. All right. Again, we've been doing a piece on making something that's going to be 3D printed for a miniature. That's going to be printed by Scott at Miniac. I just showed you guys today some of the new additions that we've done to the patch that was just released yesterday, which was 2021.6.3. And next stream, we'll look at doing all the hair and the techniques I would do for the hair and make the hair printable as well, because that's an important part. We got to make cool looking hair, but it's got to be printable. All right. And continue tuning in. We got streamers happening out every day, practically. Every day this channel's live showing some streams. I appreciate you all coming by and taking a look. This is, once again, this is Paul Gaboury with Pixologic, and you've been watching how to 3D print and paint miniatures inside of ZBrush. And I am